Quiet, please. Come on, you guys had plenty of time to talk when I passed out the quizzes. Quiet now. All right, so we're on the bottom of this page right here. All right, so let's just go right to the first example. Excuse me. We'll go right to the first example. There's not a lot of notes here. So this first example, they give us this formula for the circumference of a circle. I'll just do it like this. So we've got this equation C equals pi d. So then the C stands for the circumference, which is the distance around the circle. And then the D, that stands for the diameter. That's the distance across the circle through the center. And basically what they want us to do is they want us to solve for D. It says, what is the diameter right here? So we got to solve for D. So how would we do that? Anybody got an idea? Yeah.
So we know the circumference is 18, we'll put that where the C is.
Well, before I even do that, I just want to solve for D. How would I get the D all by itself?
Oh, divide by pi.
Yeah, divide by pi. There's a multiplication right here, you guys, right? So just like before, if you had an equation, I'll write something simple on the side here. If you had an equation like 15 equals 3x, and you wanted to get the x all by itself, you would just divide by whatever that x is being multiplied by, right? Like that. Well, same idea here. You're just going to divide both sides by pi. And just like over here, the 3's cancel out and make a 1. Well, same thing here. The pi divided by pi, that's going to cancel out. Pi over pi, that's 1. So let me get this out of here. So then you're going to have, you're going to end up with D is equal to C over pi. Well, then in this one, they told you that the circumference was right over here. The circumference is 18 inches. So they want us to plug that in for the C. All right, I guess I could have underlined it like this. It says the circumference is 18. So plug that in for C. So right here, you're going to put in 18 for C. So that's going to give you, the diameter is 18 divided by pi. Yeah, there should be a pi button on your calculator. Otherwise, you can use 3.14. Let me grab my calculator.
Yeah, it's like 5.72957.
Yeah, now pi is one of those irrational numbers. That's one of those weird decimals that goes on forever and never repeats. So I'm going to get that it's approximately
5.72.
Yeah.
5.73.
5.73. And you can see over here the circumference was given in inches. So your answer will be in inches. All right. Let's go to the next page. So we've got 4 more examples here. Then the next one, we have the area formula for a triangle. It says the area is 1/2 times the base times the height. And that would work for if you had a triangle like, this would be the base, and the height would be like right here. That would be the height. But we don't really need to know that to do the problem. I mean, this is a geometry formula. But what we got to solve for is it says we have to solve for h. So we're trying to solve for h. So let's see, what should I do? Let me rewrite the thing here. So we've got the area is 1/2 times the base times the height. Let me make myself a little bit more room here. Okay. So I'm trying to get this h all by itself. I want to get this by itself. So how could I get rid of that 1/2? Yeah, I could multiply by 2/1. So let's do that. So let's multiply this side by 2/1. And then we'll multiply the other side by 2 also. Well, 2/1 is the same thing as 2. Well, now you should be able to see that these 2's over here will cancel out, right? So now you've got an equation that says 2 times a is equal to b times h. And again, we're trying to get the h by itself. So how would I get rid of that b there? Yeah, right now if you're multiplying by b, right? So the opposite of multiplying h by b would be to divide by b. So we're going to divide both sides by b. So divide this side, divide this side by b, and divide this side by b. Then you should see that these b's will cancel out. That's 1. So then we get a final answer of, I'll come over this way again. I get h is equal to, I get h is equal to 2 times a over b. And that's what we wanted, right? We wanted to get the h all by itself. Now the toughest one is probably the next one. So this one right here. So this next one, we got that. We got this equation right here. And we got to try to solve that for e. So solve for e. Well, let me rewrite it here. So we've got s equals. So s equals w minus 10e all over m. Now how would I get rid of that m? Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to get this e by itself again. Remember, I'm trying to get this by itself. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of that m on the bottom. So the opposite of dividing by m would be multiplying by m. So I'm going to multiply this side by m. I'm going to multiply the other side by m. Well, then you should see that those m's will cancel. So now I got an equation that says m times s. It's a terrible looking s. There you go. M times s equals w minus 10 times e. Now let me compare this to something you'd be familiar with. Let's say you had an equation that looked like, I don't know, what do we want here? Hold on, let me think. let's say we got 55 equals, what do we want? 5 minus 10e. So pretend for a second you were solving that equation on the right. What would be the first thing you would do? Yeah, you would subtract 5 on both sides. Well, same idea on this one on the left then. You're going to subtract that w on both sides. And then over here on the right, those would cancel out. And you would end up with 50 equals negative 10 times e. On this one, same thing happens. These cancel out. That's 0. W minus w is 0. And so then on this side, on the left-hand side of this equation, now you have ms minus w equals negative 10e. Now, what would you do to finish this one over here on the right?
Divide by -10.
Yeah, we would divide both sides by negative 10. So we would divide both sides by negative 10. Well, that's exactly what we would do on this equation on the left then. We would divide both sides by negative 10. Now notice I divide that entire left-hand side by negative 10. And then on this one, the negative 10s would cancel out and make a 1, right? And so on this one, I would get e equals 50 divided by negative 10, that'd be negative 5. Well, on the equation on the left, again, those would cancel out and make a 1. Negative 10 divided by negative 10 is 1. So on this one, I would get e equals m times s minus w all over negative 10. And I'm just going to leave it like that. All right, so it's kind of weird because you got all these variables in there. But just remember, each of those variables, could just be a real number, right? So it's the same process or the same steps that we used in sections 2.1 to 2.4. All right, the next two examples are quick. That was probably the hardest one. So the next two examples, I just wrote all over that space. We should still have room here. All right, this one. So this time, somebody other than Rachel. Number 4 says you got to solve for x. So how do I get rid of this? Again, we're trying to get this x by itself right here. So how do I get rid of this this y right here? It says plus y. What's that? Who was that? Damien, that's good, yeah. We'd subtract y on both sides. That's all we got to do. So this one's a lot quicker than the last one. So all we got to do is subtract y on both sides. And if we do that, on the left-hand side now we'll have just x. These will cancel out and make 0. So the right-hand side now is just 15 minus y. And that's it. Let's try the last one there, number 5. I guess I could kind of section these off here too. So on number 5, it says we have to solve for q. So again, we're trying to get the q all by itself right here. So how do I get rid of that? How do I get rid of the p? Who said that? Dewan? What'd you say? Yeah, divide. Yeah, that's the same thing if, that's the same thing if you had a problem like, 3, I don't know. Hold on. That's the same thing as if you had like 7q equals, that's supposed to be a q. 7q equals 21. Well, if you were trying to get the q by itself, there's a multiplication right there. So the opposite would be to divide both sides by 7, right? So you would just divide both sides by whatever number's out in front of that variable. Well, in this case, it's not a 7 out in front of the q, it's a p. But that p still, just represents a number. It's a variable, right? So it could be some real number. So anyways, all we got to do then is just divide both sides by p. So divide this side by p and divide this side by p. And then these p's will cancel out and make a 1. And I'll get q equals x over p. And that's it. So let me